Hello and welcome to a very special edition of The Lines. We are here, Matt Brown, Steven Anderson. Steven, we are hitting everybody early Monday morning. We are looking at the initial Super Bowl lines because we know who is going to be playing in Super Bowl 56. It will be Cincinnati Bengals. It will be the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams getting to play in their home stadium over in Los Angeles. As we sit right this second, it is 4 across the board. Doesn't matter where you look. DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, PointsBet, MGM, Bet365, Rivers, William Hill. 4 across the board. A total of 49.5. Majority of books. There is a 49 at DraftKings. There is a 50 at William Hill. So there are a couple of differing totals out there as well. Stephen, first and foremost, I think the big story we're going to hear all day today, that the mighty Chiefs have fallen, that Patrick Mahomes had one of the worst games we have seen from him. Well, we should say the worst second halves we've ever seen from him. That team in general had one of the worst second halves in franchise history. With all of that, and listen, this mirrored what happened in Week 17. They got out to a big lead. They got out to an 11-point lead actually against the Bengals in Week 17. Only scored 3 points the rest of the way. Joe Burrow and company come back and win, and that's what we got again on conference championship game.
Really, one of the more improbable runs to a Super Bowl berth that we've seen in NFL history with the Cincinnati Bengals. This was a team that I think you can count on one hand the number of teams that had longer odds than the Bengals when the market first opened last year. Spoke to BetMGM heading into conference championships, and he told us that after a Week 2 loss to the Chicago Bears, the Bengals were 150-1 to win the Super Bowl. And even going into the postseason, after they won the AFC North, they were 20-1 to get to the Super, or to win the Super Bowl. So probably around 10-1 to advance to the Super Bowl. So just an unlikely path, an unlikely story from the beginning of the season to now. And then with the Los Angeles Rams, Matt, I think most people would agree this is the ceiling that we all expected from the talent that's on this team. Maybe some mid-season questions on whether they'd be able to put it together, but I don't think anybody doubted that the ceiling was there for this roster.
Yeah, I think you and I and Brad talked about it all year long, right? It was one of those things where we would look at this Rams team and they would show glimmers of hope, and especially when I say glimmers of hope for people like me who had a bunch of futures on them out there, that hey, look, this team might actually, if they can put everything together, be the team that we thought that they could be. Despite the fact they lost Robert Woods throughout the course of the season. However, there would be some really big lows, and I think a lot of that, too, had to do with some of Sean McVay's play calling. I think some of it was incredibly suboptimal. I think some of the decisions he made were suboptimal along the way. That being said, they are peaking at the right time, as they say, and peaking at the right time heading in to the Super Bowl here. You see that game yesterday. Matthew Stafford goes for 337 in the game. I think if you are a Rams backer in this game, Steven, I think the thing that you're most excited about, hey, look, Cooper Kupp going 11, 142 and 2 touchdowns. At this point, we're kind of like, ho-hum. I can't believe he didn't get to 150 yards receiving. But we look down that box score, and I think if you're a Rams backer, one of the things you really like seeing, 11 targets to Odell Beckham. He catches 9 of those 11 targets. He goes for 113 yards in that game. And I think that we know, we know that whenever Bengals come to LA, they're going to be coming with 3 weapons at wide receiver and Joe Mixon in the backfield. So for the Rams to have that type of production out of Odell Beckham heading into the Super Bowl, I think if you like the Rams in this situation, you got to be feeling pretty good.
Absolutely. I almost wonder if, Ben Skoranek dropping that wide open touchdown early made Matthew Stafford say, listen, if I'm not going to the Super Bowl, I'm at least throwing to Cooper Kupp and OBJ for the rest of this game. Tyler Higbee also hurt, his tight end. We'll see his status. He was banged up coming in, re-injured. So we'll see whether he's able to play in this one. But it seems pretty clear that we have kind of an alpha and a co-alpha, so to speak, with the target tree now in a way that we didn't see for most of the season once OBJ got onto the roster of this team. Even Van Jefferson has taken a back seat here in this offense. So I think that's a very good thing for the Rams. Get the ball in the hands of your two best playmakers. OBJ, for whatever you want to say about him off the field, he is one of the best run after catch receivers there are, one of the best quick slant guys and get yards after that catch. So that's a big development for this offense against a Bengals defense that has a weak spot in its secondary. They have a couple of corners in Awuzie and Hilton who were top 20 in PFF grade for the season, but Eli Apple is that weak link that you saw the Chiefs trying to take advantage of throughout the game on Sunday. Eli Apple, 73rd out of 120 graded cornerbacks at Pro Football Focus.
One of the props that we talked about on the pod this past week that did get home that I think will, and listen, guys, props, talk to a couple of different people. I think props are going to show up even earlier this year. I think we might be seeing at least a decent amount of these things start hitting these books about Wednesday or Thursday of this week, with, of course, they'll continue to trickle in because they're just going to make stuff up along the way, right? I mean, they're literally just going to like think of a bet and be like, hey, we should offer that. And then they're going to add it to the menu. But a lot of these are going to be there on Wednesday and Thursday. And Cam Akers, we speculated, would Cam Akers, because of losing those fumbles, would he lose touches to Sony Michel? And Sony Michel goes for 10 carries in the game. Stephen, he was incredibly inefficient. 10 carries for 16 yards for Sony Michel in the game. But again, it was just he did lose some carries there. Of course, Cam Akers was banged up for a second for the Rams as well. But listen, 2 weeks leading into this game, everybody's going to get healthy. Everybody's going to be ready to go, most likely, unless there's any sort of serious injury for these guys. All these little nicks and bangs and bruises and things like that, they have a whole week for them to just to nurse that stuff. And so we're going to see these teams pretty healthy as we enter this. And I think as the props come out, Stephen, I'm going to be looking specifically for those Cam Akers props yet again, because I think that we're going to see maybe not a 50-50 split, but even if it's 60-40, even if it's 70-30, whatever number they hang on Akers is probably going to be too high.
They were pretty balanced in the box score after the game, but I think that was a little bit slanted by 5 rushes by Matthew Stafford. They had 23 carries between Akers and Michel, and I think they just realized that for the most part, it's very difficult to run on the 49ers defense. They were one of the best in the league, and that's not the case in this game against the Bengals. If you look at win rate statistics coming into this one, the Rams run block win rate, number 12. Cincinnati run stop win rate ranked number 25 during the regular season. So this is going to be a case where they are going to be able to run the ball, and they're going to be able to have Matthew Stafford have a lot of time to pass it, I think, as well. The Rams, number 1, let me get my number straight here. The Rams, number 1 in pass block win rate. The Bengals, number 25 in pass rush win rate. So at least we can talk about Joe Burrow, and I know you want to talk about your boy here, but at least when the Rams have the ball, I think the Bengals are going to have a hard time at the line of scrimmage in this Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is early for us guys. We're going to have a ton of content here on the channel, on the podcast feed, everywhere that we have stuff. Of course, written content over at the Lines of Play Picks as well. So be sure and take in all this. But, early handicap for us, I think, is pretty simple, right, Stephen? It is the offensive line is obviously the super weak part of this Bengals team, and honestly, it's the weakest unit out of all the units there is on the field in general, period, right? And so how will they be able to hold up against Aaron Donald and Von Miller and everything that they bring to the table from this pass rush standpoint? And I think, look, I don't think we're not being geniuses here. It's the obvious, question as to the success about this. That being said, I think the only thing we can look at is they do have 2 weeks to prepare for this game, right? So, I mean, they do have 2 weeks to try and figure out how they are going to. You're not going to stop Aaron Donald. It's impossible. No. But how do you at least slow him down? How do we at least try and get Joe Burrow some time back there to throw the ball and be able to find some of these guys down the field? And so that will be, I'm not going to say that's the key to this game and that's going to be the only thing that matters in this game, but I do think that this is going to be the narrative everyone talks about heading into this thing. It's going to be the narrative that everybody is latching on to. I think you and I, as we dig in, we'll find other things that are really going to be important in this game, and maybe some advantages even on the Bengals side of things, as opposed to always pointing to Rams being to the advantages being on the Rams side. But as we look right now, Aaron Donald, Von Miller versus what Joe Burrow has right now trying to protect him is just the most glaring mismatch in this game as we enter the Super Bowl.
It's really interesting in this regard, Matt, because I think we would both agree that we'd give a slight edge in the quarterback battle to Joe Burrow at this point. Yeah. He has been fantastic. And maybe the wide receiver cores are a push, but maybe everywhere else on the field, in terms of the defensive lines, the secondaries, the offensive lines, I'd give the edge to the Rams at this point. And you have a Rams head coach who is facing one of his former assistants in Zach Taylor. So it's going to be a really interesting game to break down here. But to give a concise point, it's the right side of that Bengals offensive line that has me terrified in this one. But at least Joe Burrow, we'll see it coming. At least it's not his blind side, right?
Yeah, I mean, early thoughts here, and then, again, guys, we'll have tons and tons of content throughout the course of the week. As we sit right now, the line is sitting at 4. The total's sitting 49.5, something like that. Steven, I think taking more than a field goal with this Bengals team is always the way to go. I mean, I think that we've seen time and time again that, one, in the game 2 weeks ago, Burrow gets sacked 9 times, never gets rattled, never gets upset, just comes out calm, cool, and collected, and goes and absolutely shreds when he's not on his back, right? I mean, like when he wasn't getting sacked. And then you see this past week as well, Burrow just doesn't they get down in the game. Camera shows him on the sideline. He's not screaming. He's not pouting. He's just sitting there like, I'm waiting my turn. And he waited his turn to get out on the field. I don't think that this team is ever really out from covering a game, even if it's a backdoor cover. Just the way that guy is playing right now with the weapons that they have on the offensive side of the ball. And this is a guy, again, who would win a lot of money if the Rams win this Super Bowl. I mean, all kinds of futures tickets here. But I mean, if I'm betting this unbiased, right, like outside of my futures tickets to the Rams, let's pretend they don't exist, I would be taking the points with the Bengals right now.
I don't blame you for that. I think it's interesting from a numbers perspective. Like, you're never going to get a big edge on the spread in the Super Bowl, right? That's not going to happen. I mean, if there was one potentially, I think DraftKings opened up the Rams -4.5, and that lasted all of about 2 minutes and was back down to 4 very quickly. And that's kind of where we settled right now. I think that's pretty much where it's going to be. Our senior writer, Mo Nawara, did a look at power ratings going into the postseason based on what the market had for these teams over the past month or so. And sure enough, he had these two teams 4 points apart. So that was going into the postseason. My question for you, Matt, is, are you moving the Bengals up a little bit from there? Or are you moving the Rams up a little bit? Or do you think it's still around that 4 number?
I think I mean, me personally, I had it closer than that with these two teams pretty much all season long. But, it's a lot of that, though, had to do with the fact the Matthew Stafford factor, because he was only playing kind of average ball there for a good bit, a good bit of the way. And he has really elevated his game here over the stretch. Now, not to say that Cincinnati's offense hasn't elevated as well. But one of the things that if Zach Taylor doesn't get out of the habit of, this game really could get out of hand, and that's running the ball on first down, running on early downs. Against this, it's going to be much of the same against this team than it was the 49ers. They're not going to have success running the ball early on. It's just not going to work, and they're going to have to figure out ways to just, even if it's quick passes, even if it's little manufactured touches at the line of scrimmage for Jamar Chase, whatever it is, but not getting so predictable about this run. Leave Joe Burrow at 2nd and 9, leave him in 3rd and 7 every single time, and just assume that he's going to be able to do all the stuff that he was able to do this past week. I mean, sooner or later, putting yourself in these bad situations is going to come back to haunt you. And so while Zach Taylor got away with it this past week, I do hope that he looks at tape and go, oh man, I got into a pretty bad pattern there for a second.
I think they saw what we saw. I mean, we talked about this on the Megapod going to the championship games, that if there was an area the Bengals statistically could take advantage of, it was running the ball against the Chiefs. And I think Zach Taylor got a little too run happy on early downs versus what we loved about the Bengals coming into that game for the past month, is that they were so much better passing the ball on those early downs. And I think that's actually a good thing for this game, Matt, because if you look on paper, if you look on talent-wise, on tape, you really can't make an argument that the Bengals are going to have a good chance to run effectively on the Rams here. I don't think so. Maybe it is better in the long run here, and we get the more pass-happy version of the Bengals that has given them the success to get to this point.
Money line in this game right now, and I know you're looking at me, guys, and going, what? This guy's talking about the money line. Well, here's the thing about Super Bowl money lines is that they differ from every regular season money line that I've ever seen in all the years that I've been doing this, and I can't imagine it's going to change now, even though there are a lot more people betting into these markets than there were even just a couple of years ago. Right now, you can find as high as plus 165 on the Bengals out there. You can find as low as minus 185 on the Rams. If you like the Bengals, you're going to want to bet them, and you think that they win this thing outright, you're going to want to bet the money line as soon as you can, as soon as possible. And if you like the Rams and you'd rather just not have to deal with the 4 and you want to play them on the money line, you just hold out until, a few hours before kickoff. Because what happens in the Super Bowl, it's a phenomenon unlike any other, because so many new people are betting into it, and so many people who don't understand really betting and don't really get everything. They're making their bets for the first time, whatever it might be. They just want to sweat. The underdog gets bet on the money line. They just don't take the points. Casual people, when they come in, they'd rather have that plus money, that they'd rather bet a small amount and win a lot. And they don't want to have to worry about laying 110 to win 100. They want to put their $100 bill back down and get back 160 on top of that. And so for as long as I've been doing this, the money lines get skewed in the Super Bowl because people just, with the underdogs, just don't take the points and they just bet the money line. So again, if you want the Bengals money line, bet it early. Don't wait. If you want the Rams money line, wait and bet it late, because you get a lot of value on the favorite on the money line in a game like the Super Bowl.
That's kind of where I'm at too, because my early lead right now, a day after the championship games, is that the Rams win this game, but I'm not comfortable with that 4. So I'm going to wait until the last possible second. If I do conclude after doing all my, we're at very rudimentary stages here of our research for this game. So once we get closer to kickoff, if I'm still on that side, I'm going to wait probably until within an hour of kickoff to take the Rams on that money line. And the other thing too, Matt, we're going to hear a lot of narrative leading up to the Super Bowl, I would imagine, about how the Bengals could be one of the biggest long shots to ever win the Super Bowl, because there's only one team in NFL history who had longer odds in the preseason to go on to win the Super Bowl. The Bengals opened at 66-1 right after last year's Super Bowl. Before the start of the season, they were around 80-1, maybe even higher in some spots. The only team that had longer odds than that to win the Super Bowl were the 1999 St. Louis Rams, who were 150-1 at the start of the greatest show on turf era. Kurt Warner, his amazing story. You could probably go check out what I assume is a terribly produced C-level movie if you haven't seen the story yet. But yeah, 150-1 to the Rams in the preseason. The Bengals got there after week 2, but not at the start of the season. So it would be the second longest preseason odds ever to win the Super Bowl if the Bengals pull it off. And I'm sure we'll hear a lot of that narrative leading up to the game.
Guys, like we said, we'll have a full game preview. We'll have Brad back. We'll talk to Brett. We'll talk to everybody. We'll get as many people as we can to get their opinions so that you can hear everybody's angles on all this. Because here's the thing. It's not so much about fading or following us. It's taking that information that we put out with all this and using it and making your own decision and coming to an agreement. Listen, we had a guy on YouTube this week who said he just loves to fade that Matt guy. So he just loves to fade me. But that's fine. If you're taking what I'm saying and you're like, I hate what that guy says, at least you're making a decision. At least you're hearing what's going on, and then you're deciding for yourself that, okay, I don't like that information. I like this other information. I like what Steven said here, or I like what Brad said here, or I like what Matt said here, or I like what Brett said here, whatever it is, and making your own decisions in these bets. And so we're going to have every different game angle and preview that you could possibly have. Guys, we're going to have a prop pod. We're going to talk about just nothing but prop bets, our favorite prop bets. We're going to talk about Super Bowl MVP. We're going to have a pod dedicated strictly to that as well. We'll have our best bets as well. We're going to have all of that. And if you live in one of these states that you have all these different outs and you have all these multiple books out there, we'll have the 5 best odds boosts that are coming, 5 best sign up bonus offers, all the different things like that. And that's all coming here over the 2 weeks leading into the Super Bowl here. So guys, just be sure and stick into the Discord. You can find that on thelines.com upper right hand corner. If you're not in there, we're going to be talking through this, of course, 6 ways from Sunday all over for the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's going to be absolutely crazy. So be sure and be in there, and of course subscribe to the channel here so that you're getting everything fed to you as soon as we hit it. If you want to follow Steven on the Twitter machine at StevenAnders1, if you want to follow me at Matt Brown M2, and guys, good luck on all your Super Bowl bets.